Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today's episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by the Tatooine Used Hyperdrive Emporium, where we absolutely, positively guarantee our Jawas will have the exact parts your starship is missing. They have an uncanny ability to track down the exact... Pretty ironic. It's usually painted a different color, but
this one's too on the nose, Jim.
It's had a nice sand scrub. Yeah.
Very good businessmen, but just don't park near the Boonta Eve.
Don't go to Tatooine on Boonta Eve anyway.
Pay for valet parking. It's worth the money. Secured parking lot. Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. Yeah, that one's a little too on the nose and a little painful. Brandon's had some car mishaps this year.
I was about to say, Brandon, did you notice anything small,
home.
Short, and lost anywhere near your car?
That wasn't your dog's?
The only thing I can think of was like that one time I had to park next to that horrible little thing that they made you drive when yours was in the shop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I still hear the music it played as I drove it.
So, welcome, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And my quick comment is, speaking of Star Wars, the recent episode of The Bad Batch, season 2 was my favorite, hands down.
Can I just go ahead?
Really emotional, really powerful.
Can I just go ahead and say, as much as I have enjoyed The Bad Batch this season, the best episodes have been Crosshair episodes?
Well, I think we're all in agreement. Crosshair is probably the most interesting character at this point because we don't want to give it away, but
no, I'll just go ahead and say
tune in and watch The Bad Batch.
He's conflicted.
He's
and
highly
we haven't
conflicted.
seen that until now.
Yeah, really
the clones
cool.
are waking up.
Yep. Really cool characters. So, but you guys, today is going to be sort of interesting. We have another Legends and Geekdom segment, and this is going to be interesting because we are going to put forth the case that when we think of the first science fiction convention, there's a lot of people that go, oh yeah, that started in 1939 in New York. It was such and such. Well, no. We have historical evidence that really you could make the case that the first science fiction convention happened in 1891, and that's all we're going to say about it. We're gonna discuss that, and we're going to unpack it. I
feel like a Beatles song. I should be singing about the Albert Hall.
Yeah. Albert Hall plays a role, but
we could get someone to play it. Please don't sing.
Okay, I like that idea better.
It's a very interesting story. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. But Brandon, this of course we're always finding out, or we're always interested in any Batman news, and
absolutely
there's a update, right? So
the Caped Crusader, it's coming to Amazon.
Tell people what that is, because to me, that's one of the most exciting projects.
Bruce Timm and Matt Reeves have been working on what is an heir apparent series to Batman the Animated Series, which, let's just go ahead and be honest, Batman the Animated Series was so good that it has ruined almost every Batman thing afterwards because we always compare it to this.
That's true.
They
set the standard really high.
So to have Bruce Timm, who was working on the original Batman the Animated Series, I can speak English, I can. And having Matt Reeves, who just gave us an amazing look into Gotham and its denizens in The Batman, working on a series together that is the, respective sequel to Batman the Animated Series. I'm just super excited. So when they canceled it at HBO Max, let's just say I was heartbroken.
Yeah, and we're all scratching our heads about HBO Max, other than it looks like they're probably just going to sell it at some point, right?
Right.
That's what's going on.
The deal got inked this week. The Batman the Caped Crusader is coming to Amazon Prime Video.
Okay. So, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's an amazing thing because Amazon doesn't – they don't do bad quality.
They don't play games like they do over
They
HBO.
really don't. You may not like the writing on the new Lord of the Rings series, but you cannot say that the quality of the series is bad. And then you've also got
wasn't
things
it like the most expensive TV show ever made?
And then you've got things like The Marvelous Miss Maisel and Jack Ryan and Reacher and, Upload, which I can't talk about Upload on this show because it gets a little raunchy, but they put a lot of work into their shows. And I can't wait to see what they do with the Caped Crusader, especially since apparently J.J. Abrams has signed an exclusive deal with Warner Brothers, so I don't know if he can go work on the Amazon Prime series, and that just makes me happy.
Well, it's funny. Okay, I'll give credit where credit's due. Cloverfield is really just one of the coolest movies I've ever seen, and that was his baby, right? J.J. Abrams.
It was.
But I'm sorry, J.J. Abrams has failed too many. I mean, it failed me too many times with Star Wars and things like that. And somebody as important as Batman, I don't want him getting near it.
Let's see. J.J. Abrams was connected to The Force Awakens, which you loved, but then he did give us The Rise of Skywalker, which I don't even remember if you ever went and saw, because you were so upset with Ryan Johnson's Last Jedi.
I saw it on Disney Plus. That just showed. When is the last time I've ever missed a Star? Yeah, but anyway, so whatever. But we're Matt Reeves. Let's talk about the good thing. We love Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm did give us the original, and they said the vibe of this show looks really interesting,
very, very classic.
Yeah.
But something else that came out of the Batman camp, especially from Matt Reeves' Batman, is we got to see a few production stills from The Penguin, which is coming to HBO Max.
Right.
And it bridges the gap between The Batman and The Batman 2, which goes into production in November.
Yeah. And, well, as long as we're talking DC, they did show us some I saw some, I don't know if it was bootleg footage of some scenes being filmed for the second Joker movie, which still don't know how I feel about that.
We see Arthur with his makeup scrubbed off of his face, but it still can be seen as being chased down by two other versions of himself. Which
go figure.
That's messing with that. That's messing with that mental state thing again. So
yeah. So
I can't wait to hear the song they're singing to each other. Because it's a musical, guys. It's you just got to get used to that.
Yeah, I don't know. It very, very interesting times for sure. So
that's one way of putting it.
But I'm kind of eager. I hope they'll have something like that. I hope they'll have some images or some artwork for the Batman or the Cape Crusader sometime soon. It's an odd title though, because they're talking about making this in the style of the original Batman, where we're talking late 1930s, where he even has like the purple gloves or something. And I don't remember even hearing the term Cape Crusader until like Adam West came along. Right?
I mean, it is what it is.
We don't want to get that vibe, Alan.
Why not?
I know how you feel about,
why not? It was an awesome hit for its time.
That has no place in dark, gritty, back alley Batman. That's what we want.
What? So. Nobody had a sense of humor?
All right. Well, guys, forget that. Let's not argue, fellas. But we've got a really interesting segment coming up in our Legends in Geekdom. We're going to talk all about the world's first science fiction convention.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Worse than beaming down into a Sarlacc pit. The Geek Patrol is back.
Wow, crossing genres there. So I have to say, I can't disagree with that. And I don't want to see what it looks like afterwards. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass, and the fuming from the ears Brandon Olmsted, who just, I don't know, guess you didn't like that one? Are you rolling your eyes or fuming? I can't tell.
He's bemused.
I'm more along the lines of we've seen what happens when you get out of the Sarlacc pit.
But beaming
it's not pretty.
Beaming in is a whole new experience. You think you're going to safety and warmth, and
hey, but what if the Sarlacc pit is sick and they are sending the doctor down to help?
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, I got a doctor I can feed to it. He lives behind the glass.
All right, we're burning daylight here, guys. Max, let's hit it, man.
And now, a legend in geekdom.
Where did that come from? Max has too much time on us.
I don't even want to know.
All right, I guess that works, Max.
I think Max is applying to a different radio station in this city.
Yeah. Okay. Hey guys, so if you're new to Geek Tank Radio, we've kind of developed a new segment that we are going to be from time to time showcasing either great people, great moments, or maybe not so great, maybe infamous moments, but nevertheless they are noteworthy.
Leroy who?
Right.
I will be putting a poll up later on for how long do you think it'll be before we are oversaturating you with this segment.
Yeah. So anyway, but okay, let's kick this off this way. So we're going to go back in time to 1871. And the world was very interesting. What was that, the Victorian era? Alan, you were like in high school back then, right? So
I was a little older, actually.
Okay.
But,
I'd say you were high school.
Yeah, So all right. So welcome to London as the peak of civilization.
Well,
Just ask anybody in London.
Told
They'll
you
be
he
able
was
to told you
there.
that.
Well, if you take yourself back in those times, I can remember somebody made the famous quote of saying, well, there's not much more we can do with technology. We've taken it about as far as we can. It was a time of innovation, and people were already thinking futuristic, even though this is 1871. And a book comes along by Edwin Lytton, I can't pronounce his middle name, called The Power of the Coming Race, which sounds like something Hitler would read, but it's not. It's a book about these superhuman characters that actually live in the center of the earth, and they get their power from this magic elixir. You know, sounds a lot like Captain America to me. Mm-hmm. And it was sort of, you could say it was technically a science fiction book, and it really was influential. It really made a big impact, and it suddenly became a part of the vernacular back in Victorian England.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was it was called, what the heck is it called? The Vril. What was that? The Vril was like either the serum they drank or something like that, or that was the
you're talking
name
about
of the people.
You're talking about Vril-Ya. Yeah.
Vril-Ya. So anyway, the long and short of it was this became a hugely popular thing, not unlike we have today. We have Marvel, we have Star Wars, we have DC.
Exactly.
We have popular fiction, and you could say science fiction that influenced it. Well, okay, so we fast forward to 1891, and a man, Dr. Herbert Tibbets, he founded the School of Massage and Electricity.
Yes.
Experimental medicine to
Massage.
Yeah, massage. And anyway, he wanted to do a fundraiser for his so he basically created what could be called the first science fiction convention based around this book, based in the theme of these characters. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. So.
Yes, well, he wanted to hold a bazaar and fair. He was ready to throw the party.
What is a fair?
A fair?
Yes,
but
it was
it's
like
spelled
a
like
tada.
F-E-I-R.
Yes,
Okay.
a feat, according to you.
Yeah. Oh, F-E-T-T-E. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
F-E-T-E.
All right.
Put the apostrophe in the
Well,
right
it was
place.
supposed to be a fundraiser. Well, so he throws it at the Great Albert Hall. Okay.
Let's be honest, Joe. Is there any sci-fi convention that not at its heart is a fundraiser for somebody?
Right. Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, Mid-South Con is a non. Yeah, we could talk about that.
I didn't say anything about nonprofit. I'm just saying it's a fundraiser.
Okay, so
all right. Well, let's start with this is already a time in history where of great speakers, a lot of the people we still remember fondly today, were basically paid dinner guests.
Yeah, they were your celebrity guests of the
right.
Of the
you
year.
know, so the great Brandon Olmsted, you would invite to dinner because you knew he was going to get in an argument with the great Ditch Milne, because that's why we put them at opposite ends of the table, and thus the rest of us were entertained.
Me and Ditch just throw things at each other.
A great feat at this point would be of bazaars, of circuses. A circus was still more performing people. So here we go with a costume ball based on this book. So the Albert Hall is transformed into winged creatures hanging from the ceilings and all of these great ornate things. And they got in and they had some vendors. They had technically booth babes. They had women in great gowns and all of these wonderful things.
They had panels and performances.
And they were getting into, and they also had a stage set up for dramatic readings.
Right.
So more or less, you can say this was a bazaar or fair. And
well, they didn't have a word for convention. They didn't have, sci-fi convention.
So it was kind of a big party, a big put on, and as a way of slightly a precursor to the auditorium held by a certain circus guy coming up in a few years.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here it is. It's there. It's going. It's huge. And it's kind of a failure.
Well, it's funny because that's what we wanted to get to. We wanted to get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. It started off with this unique concept that maybe it was just ahead of its time. But if you walked into the Great Albert Hall, you would see cosplayers. You were encouraged to wear a costume.
You were.
However, you were also encouraged to make a donation.
Right.
That's sort of where things started. Let's just tip that out. That's where things went wrong. You were supposed to come in with a pouch of money and drop it in a basket in front of the king.
This is where taking the cosplay went too far because there was nobody verifying what was in the pouch.
And you might be wearing a mask.
Exactly.
You might, and nobody has to know that. And so basically, what happened is just a spoiler. It turns out the donations they thought they made, half of them were like bags full of rocks. And
This is why some conventions have you fill out a full-on form for
Right.
registration.
Yeah.
And that's why we have weapon disclosures in conventions.
exactly. So
Yes.
so it started with the best of intentions, but it ended in tragedy and failure. However, it laid the groundwork for the modern science fiction convention, and we're going to unpack that when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Drop the racing form and step away from the TARDIS. The Geek Patrol is back.
Do you think Doctor Who participated in the first convention?
He probably could have gone back, and anyway. But,
he was there giggling.
It's not like you could do
hilariously.
anything. It's a fixed point in time.
Okay.
It is.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And we're in the middle of a really interesting discussion about what could arguably be called the world's first science fiction convention, which took place this week. It's an anniversary. That's why we're mentioning it. March 5th. 1891. It was supposed to be a 3-day event. They actually extended it to 5 days to try to recoup some of their losses. Because let's just say it started off with the best of intentions. You walk into the Great Albert Hall. It was celebrating a very famous book at the time.
Let's go ahead and let's examine the times with just that statement.
Okay.
It was a 3-day event, but because we needed to recoup our losses, it became a 5-day event. Can you imagine how deep in the hole you would be today if you decided to extend your convention last minute to 5 days?
Yeah. I mean,
Venue prices ain't cheap, people.
the Albert Hall cannot be cheap to rent. So it's like, okay, so they made what we were going to examine in a minute is the cardinal sins that I should say the cardinal rules they ignored in terms of convention organizing. We've seen the pitfalls, Brandon. So,
Time report.
But basically, if you want to research it, it's pretty interesting. It's a weird title. Maybe the branding was difficult too. It's called the Vril. What is this? The heck is it called? It's the Vril. Why am I losing the place here? It's something based on a novel, The Power of the Coming Race. And it was the Vril Bazaar, something like that.
It was about Vril-Ya Bazaar in Faye.
Vril-Ya Bazaar. Okay, that's already difficult to pronounce. But anyway, you were supposed to go in. It was basically had all the hallmarks of a convention, as we said. There was cosplay, there was performances, there were panels, there were vendors and artists and things you could enjoy. However, the first thing they did was, instead of making it, this is how much it cost to get it. Okay, give us 10 shillings to come in. They said, well, we have a suggested donation, and put it in this pouch and drop it in this basket here. Well, that didn't work because, like we said, half the donations turned out to be rocks or whatever. And then, of course, they picked the most expensive venue you could pick, Brandon. I mean, it's like,
And then they went so crazy as to have offered activities. You could have a demon dog read your mind. You had shopping. You could go indoor fishing. That wasn't cheap.
indoor fishing.
You could go indoor fishing.
I mean, hey, those people got their rocks worth, I guess. And not
guess
only
so.
that, but they had to gather those rocks. So that's dedication right there.
Yeah,
You
great,
are
Max.
too young for dad jokes like that.
Yeah, but
But I
they,
like it.
But they also had we like creating a nice ambiance at an event, but instead of like printing banners or something, they recreated like ancient Egypt and think of the prop expenses.
Well, I mean, what else do you expect? This is the precursor to the Gilbreth Exploiticon.
But what was interesting was how much this parallels our modern life, because keep in mind, this was a very different event. Usually these things are very formal, very, sophisticated. Well, all the press of the day kind of had a field day with this. They were ripping it. They were saying, I saw nothing attractive or remarkable, said one writer, Preston Harold. The other was just saying the costumes were off-putting, and just all this stuff. So these were the internet trolls of the day.
So it
ripping
was the
this.
Oscars.
Yeah, it's like, so they had the media against them. So kind of reminds you a little of DashCon. I know I keep bringing that up, but DashCon deserved it, actually.
Well, I mean, it was a grifter's paradise.
Right. But so here's my question to the panel. So basically what happened in the end was this was a very noteworthy event to attend. It had to be a lot of fun to go to. However, it lost. It bankrupted the organizers, and for that reason, I wonder, maybe this thing was just a little too ahead of its time. And if it was successful, do you think they would have had another one? Could it have become an annual event? And what would that have done to the history of science fiction conventions?
Wow.
It's a very deep question.
Well, here's the thing. This was not the last one of these things. Just somebody else did it.
It wasn't the last.
That was not the last,
but it was not a smashing success. It failed
this
in
one
a lot
was
of ways.
not, because as you said, he grotesquely overreached.
Right.
And a lot of the things they did, they got too deep into the cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite complaints about almost any event.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the whole come completely dressed up and use the little pouches to make your donation and do this and do that. Well, they eliminated a lot of the things where you could have actually made sure people were paying to get in.
Security and logistics were nil.
Yeah.
That's rule one. Make sure you have a flat rate to get in.
And they also he got a little too excited about this because he'd had a little bit of success with Vril-Ya. And Vril-Ya was his version of the elixir. And basically, it was a beef extract and some other stuff. And this was like a big hit. So
can I just say something,
People
Alan?
will drink anything.
Alan, you're becoming very one-dimensional. Look at this. I have 2 pages of notes here.
Yes.
One tiny line mentions the beef extract, the food element, and that's what Alan goes for.
But that was the
You
only
have to
thing
go
that was
for
a
that.
hit.
But that's
But that was the only part of this thing that was a hit.
Well, I don't know. You get a little jar of beef extract, and you were encouraged to drink it.
That was the Vril-Ya. That was the elixir that got you to come out here and experience the wonders of being a member of the new blah, 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 blah.
What was mixed in with the beef extract?
And,
All right.
All
right, Joe, before the
then
next
this turned
MCFC, we got to
into-
sell some sort of energy drink.
Yeah, no kidding.
And this turned
Beef-based.
basically into
The max.
This was his version of, I don't know, some concert we had in the 60s where people just pushed down the gates and all went and attended.
Are you accusing the Vril manufacturers of creating like a hallucinogenic beef extract?
No.
I mean, hey,
this
was during a time that there was this book called The Jungle where they used to put chalk in milk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it was all free, fair game when it came to food back then.
And you had to be careful about Chinese imported green tea because it contained paint.
Well, let's just say this, folks. If you wanna go on your own deep dive, the Vril-Ya Bazaar is a very fascinating topic, especially if you're into conventions. And we barely scratched the surface here, but we're gonna move along and get away from the beef extract conversation. So we have some interesting things to discuss that we're not gonna tease when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. They can name every member of the Green Lantern Corps in under 60 seconds. The Geek Patrol is back.
I'm looking forward to getting some new rejoiners. But anyway, I've tried it. I can't do 60 seconds, but it's...
Can you name all the civilians of the Vril-Ya?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
No.
Okay. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, I strongly encourage you, once it's posted, to go back and listen to this episode of Geek Tank Radio, because earlier in the show, we were talking about what could arguably be the world's first science fiction convention, which took place in 1891 at the Royal Albert Hall. And I just wanted to leave one thing. We discussed all the failures of this, including the fact that they were up against what the internet trolls of the day, which were the newspaper writers. There was one particularly brutal review. One of the writers wrote, "A more humiliating display of witless and puerile fantasticalities was never designed." I mean, that's a pretty great quote. I got it.
All right,
I never heard the word fantasticalities.
I would go to see that.
Anyway, we encourage you to go down your own rabbit hole and investigate this. And you can find a few videos, and you'll definitely find a lot of information on the internet. But it's time to shift gears, Alan. I suppose it's begrudgingly, we have to talk a little more science, right?
Hail science!
Sounds like the robots are
They're
Why
invading.
begrudgingly?
Because it's just another sign of where the takeover is going to begin. But-
Well, I know where the takeover is going to begin, and it's
Okay.
going to begin in a restaurant.
No, it's
I know
the
you're
ants.
shocked about
with
that.
a bovine extract.
Yes,
with a beef extract.
with a beef extract. Welcome to Bear Robotics.
Bear Robotics.
Bear
Is
Robotics.
it BE like a regular bear?
Is it
like a regular
Cocaine
bear?
Bear?
Yeah.
Like BEAR.
Oh, I wish it was Cocaine Bear.
It is not BARE.
It's got to be an acronym for something.
No, it's just
Something,
Bear
something,
Robotics.
something robotics. Right?
No,
just
this
the
is
name
Bear
of it.
Robotics.
I bet you anything it's a. Go ahead, Alan.
Not according
Okay.
to Juan
Be
Higueros.
alive the robots. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, he makes what is known as Servi. Servi
Servi.
is a robotic waiter or robotic waiter and busboy. And they are beginning to crop up all over the place. Currently in over 6,000 restaurants in 38 states all over the U.S., and now popping up in South Korea and Japan, including at least 2 restaurants that I know of right here in Memphis. Maybe 4. I have to verify. You too can experience Servi Robotics.
Do they sell the defective service to Hardee's?
Wow.
Wait a minute now.
Oh my
Max, are we
gosh.
going to get sued for that one?
Probably.
Okay, so here's how it works.
I actually like parties, but go ahead. All right.
Here's how it works. If you have a Servi robot, it maps your restaurant and can deliver things to a table. It can pick things up from an area and take it back to a designated area. They can even be programmed to go sing like happy birthday to certain patrons at certain tables.
Does Servi have a friendly face?
Servi has a little screen that pops up that greatly reminds me of any number of robots from Doctor Who.
Oh, see, I was thinking of the Jetsons.
It's quite pleasant.
Okay.
It has a little video screen face. It's a touch screen interface also. And, well, what can I say? Robots are now here. With the shortage we've had lately in just basically labor, period, Servi is getting quite a bit of business. They have several different models. So you could be sitting at your local restaurant and a human server or waiter will come by and clear your table and load a Servi. Servi will say thank you very much and toddle off to the busboy station all by itself.
Okay.
I just want to see a Servi glitch out while it sings happy birthday and scares a child.
Well, here, several,
There's some deep-rooted psychological damage right there that we're going to have to unpack on another episode.
he had a bad episode of Chuck E. Cheese when
I
he
was
was.
about to say, where did the bad Chucky sing to you?
Okay,
We got
Alan. Many questions emerge. First of all, do you tip Servi?
No.
Okay, well, I guess that's
All
sort
right,
of one benefit.
the human is still there.
He's not sentient yet.
Okay, here's another thing. We remember in iRobot the laws of robotics. Okay,
Right.
well, what are the laws of a serving robot in terms of its priorities? Does it go to the table over there with 6 people first versus the one guy in the corner booth because they're going to get more sales out of the 6, or what are its?
It goes where the humans tell it to go. So if it is assigned to your section, let's say you're the server in section A, you can press your little call. Servi will come out of the back, run its little presented track. Servi also has motion and proximity sensors, so it's not going to run over anybody. It will wait patiently until it gets to your section, and then you can bus your tables, load Servi up, tell Servi, all right, go back to the dishwasher, and Servi will toddle off with all of your dishes and take it back to the dishwasher for you. That way, it is saving you the human steps. It is making a more efficient restaurant. And because they're kind of cute, patrons like them.
I see several problems here, Alan. Okay, first of all, you're having the same being, whatever you want to call Servi, you're having the same robot handle your food that you're going to eat and handle the waste and handle the dirty
No,
garbage.
there's another
No.
Servi in the back that will bring it to your table. Busboy Servi does not bring food. Server boy Servi.
So it really
brings
is an
the food.
invasion. Now you're getting taken over by robots, right? So okay.
Okay, so Joe, let me put it this way: Servi, while cute and robotic looking, is nothing more than an automated tray.
Yes.
He takes the stuff that the
For now.
that the kitchen staff puts on the tray. He rolls it out to the thing, and then the waiter serves it to your table. Serby never touches anything.
Do we approve of Servy?
I
I'm
think
on the
Servy's
fence.
hilarious, man. I think Servy's hilarious. I'm liking Servy because Servy is replacing the worst part of working in a restaurant.
Okay, but
Collisions.
here's another thing. My daughter made money during college as doing waiting. You know,
Right.
so
She would still
I don't
get-
know. You still need those entry level jobs.
She
for
would
people.
still be at the table to take orders and to take the food from Serby and put it on the table. You aren't listening again, Joe, because you're already showing your bias against the robotic civilians.
So now there's an ethical question. You're getting tipped, so you're going to tip the waiter still or the waitress.
Yes.
Right.
You're getting tipped for Servy's labor. I bet Servy doesn't get a cut after
Do you-
the fact.
No,
so
Servy
you're-
gets recharged.
Hey.
This is
Here-
horrible. This is
okay,
another.
Joe. An Uber takes you from one place to another. The car does 90% of the work. You still tip the guy who's behind the wheel.
The controversy's only begun, guys. This conversation is not going away, but we have to go away because we're out of time. So until next
Because we
week.
talked too much about your weird convention.
Exactly. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Alan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I'm Brandon Olmsted reminding you, do not share your bow reel with Servy.